It's a goal! Can you believe it? It's extraordinary.
Sunday is the main event of the weekend. The third season of the AFLW comes to fruition, and this has tremendous elements. The Crows are the juggernaut. Their last 2 weeks have been frightening. They've set a new standard in the women's competition. Carlton's on the journey from wooden spooner with uncertainty around their stars to a team that has built itself with trust and belief under Daniel Harford, and they front up to the Adelaide Oval where they're raging underdogs in enemy territory. It has the elements befitting a main event. The biggest names in the game are there: Phillips, Marinoff, Harris, Vesio, and it goes deeper than that. It's the Crows and the Blues. On Sunday, you'll see it on Fox Sports 3. If you're in Adelaide, it's the place to be. That's what they're playing for. The Crows and the Bulldogs have raised it so far. Who will it be come Sunday? Nicole Livingston's the head of AFLW. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you very much.
What's your expectation for Sunday?
Well, I think a great game. I think Carlton, last time they played Adelaide, were very competitive. Obviously, the fourth quarter was where the difference was won and lost for the Blues, but the Crows are very, very good. I'm just hoping that Carlton hasn't played their grand final in the prelim final. What
constitutes a successful day? Is with free entry, do you get any vibe on how many people will be there?
Well, we've got a great performer as well in Amy Shark that's been announced. So we've had a tradition now of having great female Australian performers. So we think that that will also draw a crowd to come and see Amy Shark, who's a great supporter of AFLW. Last week we had over 13,000 come to Adelaide Oval to see the Crows. So we think that this weekend it should be around 20,000. If it's more than that, I know the Crows are looking at 30. The fact that the Carlton men play the day before, Carlton have certainly gone out pretty hard with their fans to encourage them to either go for the weekend or to come across for the women. So, and they've even gone buses straight across to Adelaide to go see the women.
How do you convince, Nick, how do you convince yourself and Jared and others, hundreds, thousands of others, that the AFL hasn't let down the women by the scheduling of this grand final?
By putting it on a Sunday.
And putting it on when you're putting it on up against a men's game on TV.
Look, I think the Saturday would have been more disastrous for us to actually get into Adelaide Oval, to be able to get our fans into Adelaide Oval.
Getting them in's fine.
No, it's not
fine. Wasn't the issue getting them out?
No, it's both. So for us, if we had of last week, there was a lot of talk about should we have done a double header with the Crows Hawthorn game. We did investigate that, but to actually get our fans in a full house of Adelaide Crows men's supporters was very difficult. It is a different audience. There will be a lot that come out this weekend to see the Adelaide Crows that are men's supporters as well, but to not have a family-friendly time slot that allowed families, to allow kids to come and see the inspiration of the AFLW would have been a disservice to our players. Before you go in for another one, Robbo, the other thing that I'll say to you is that if we had have been able to manage a Saturday, it would have pushed us to a time zone of about 10:30 in the morning Adelaide time. To be able to clear a venue, to allow Port Adelaide to set up with Port Adelaide signage all over Adelaide Oval meant that we would have played at 10:30 in the morning. Now, you would agree that that is a disservice to AFL.
No, I agree with that. That's a disservice. But when you schedule the women's game to overlap with the men's game and knowingly do this months and months out, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, but it's a better scenario to be live on television than potentially delayed on the Saturday, and that could have been what happened. So for us, the Sunday is a much better slot from a TV audience point of view and from an attendance point of view.
Could you have done it better? Why can't the AFL ever say, you know what, if we had our time again, again, we may have done it differently, because we have to do it differently, Nick.
Well, we do it differently, and that's the whole point, though, Robbo. We do it differently to the AFL. You know exactly when the men's competition grand final is and the venue that it's at. We don't do that. With AFLW, we like the difference that we actually don't set that grand final location until we have locked in the grand finalists, and the top spot goes to the hosting goes to the top spot.
I know that. So that is unique. It is unique.
So it doesn't.
You're using it as an advantage because it's unique. You're using it as a positive because it's unique. I would say you're using the uniqueness and it gives us a negative and not a positive.
Yeah, well, I think I probably disagree with you, but...
That's fine. Because I want to watch it. I don't want to be flicking.
Well, don't. You know what? You might get surprised.
I'm not going to be surprised.
The AFLW Grand Final might outrate the North Lions game.
If it does, we're looking at a great moment. A great moment. Okay, but it's definitely, we don't want 2 games on. We just don't.
Unfortunately, where we're at right now with AFLW trying to find its right place in a sporting calendar that is absolutely jam-packed, I feel more confident with us being able to schedule with the AFL, the AFLW fixture. If we were trying to schedule around other sports that we have no control or say in, then that puts us in a much worse position.
Do you have a clearer picture of what that window looks like, having lived through this season?
Yeah, look, I still think it's in the window that we're in, that February-March period of time. Do we go earlier into January? Australian Open is changing its timing coming up in 2020. We have more teams coming in. We have 4 more teams coming in. So what I do want is to be able to grow our audience, because our end game is to try and get us to a position where this competition is commercially sustainable. And to do that, we actually need to be able to grow our audience, whether if we go into January, whether or not people are still on holidays, they don't come out to watch footy, whether or not we move it into October, November, whether people are, footy fatigued in that stage. There's still some work to do. Spring racing takes over in that period of time. WBBL is moving to that time. It's busy.
It is very complicated.
But we have to be able to stand on our product in terms of being able to trust where we put it. We'll be able to rate well. And I'm really happy with ratings. I'm really happy with audiences and attendances.
We're strong supporters. I know a lot of people who are strong supporters.
I know you are.
And we should be celebrating the game, because
Yep.
I love watching the Crows play. And not just Aaron, I like watching a lot of players.
You like watching the Blues play?
Well, we're all pretty good friends with Daniel Harford, and I've watched every Carlton game. I really enjoy it.
It's been pretty remarkable, Half bringing the Blues from wooden spoon, double wooden spoon for men's and women's, up to making it into a grand final. And that prelim final was pretty sensational against Fremantle.
Just one more before you leave. Who owns the rights to the Taylor Harris photo for merchandise purposes?
AFL Media owns the rights to the Taylor Harris photo. So Michael Wilson is the photographer, but anything that takes place with that, I'm in dialogue with Taylor through her manager. So what I think is really important is that Taylor has a say in this, and she has indicated that Our Watch is her chosen charity, which is an organisation for prevention for violence against women and families. And I think that is really important to have Taylor's say in it.
Does she get any money for this?
She's donating the T-shirt that they are considering producing. She's donating that money to Our Watch. Yeah, that's not. She doesn't want to make money out of it. She wants it to go to this charity.
Okay. Well, we are celebrating a grand final.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be awesome.
But there's some big questions at the moment on the women's. That's all.
But we have a competition committee as well, like the men do, and we've got 10 experts from right around all of women's football that will assist us in making those determinations to go up to the commission. But it's an exciting time. We're only in our 3rd year, and it's growing at the rate of knots, which is fantastic.
Good luck for Sunday.
Thanks.
Nicole Livingston with us on AFL.
Sunday!
I'm only joking.
The captains run Bob Murphy and Nick Revolts ahead of our legends this Wednesday night.